The champagne tower caught the light like 1,000 tiny promises, all of them lies. I stood at the edge of Thayer's birthday party, watching my husband raise his glass to toast his work wife, my sister Lumen. The rooftop restaurant hummed with laughter and clinking glasses, the city lights spreading out below us like we owned them. Maybe Thayer thought he did. "To the woman who really keeps me running," Thayer announced, his arm draped around Lumen's shoulders. She giggled, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. The same shade as mine, actually, though she paid twice as much to maintain it. My profession as an interior architect had taught me to notice details. The way Lumen leaned into him, the matching watches on their wrists, limited edition, the kind I'd mentioned wanting last Christmas, the way nobody in this crowd of 50 people seemed surprised by his declaration. Quinlan Doss, Thayer's business associate, nudged me with his elbow. "Lighten up, Vesper. It's just a joke." "Hilarious," I said, taking a sip of my water. I'd stopped drinking an hour ago, once I realized I needed to remember every second of this evening. Thayer reached into a gift bag, silver, expensive, probably chosen by his assistant, and pulled out a white t-shirt. He held it up for everyone to see. The black letters read, "Divorced and Free." The crowd erupted in laughter. Cameras came out, phones tilted at angles. Lumen kissed his cheek, leaving a perfect lipstick print. "For you, darling," Thayer said, walking the shirt over to me. "Thought you could use some humor. You've been so serious lately." I took it. The fabric was soft, premium quality. Of course it was. Thayer never did anything halfway, especially humiliation. "Thank you," I said. My voice came out steady, almost pleasant. "I'll treasure it." His eyes narrowed slightly. He'd expected tears, maybe a scene. Instead, I folded the shirt carefully and set it in my purse. Sable Keene, my best friend since college, appeared at my elbow. "We can leave," she whispered. "Not yet," I said. The party continued around us. Quinlan made a speech about loyalty and success. Thayer's parents beamed from their table, choosing not to see what everyone else could. Lumen's husband, Eamon Pike, sat in the corner, nursing a whiskey, his expression unreadable. I'd always liked Eamon. He worked in construction management, spoke bluntly, and had no patience for corporate games. Right now, he was staring at his wife with the focus of someone doing complex mathematics. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. At midnight, when Thayer found me on the balcony, his smile had turned sharp. "You embarrassed me in there," he said. "I stood quietly in a corner." "Exactly. You made everyone uncomfortable with your mood." He stepped closer, bourbon on his breath. "Sleep in the guest room tonight, until you learn some respect." "Okay," I said. He blinked. "Okay?" "Yes, is there anything else?" His jaw worked like he was chewing glass. "We'll talk about your attitude tomorrow." "Sure." I stayed on the balcony for another 10 minutes, watching the traffic below. Then I went home to our penthouse, the one I'd designed every inch of, from the custom moldings to the lighting scheme, and I started packing. The guest room became my headquarters. I worked through the night with the kind of clarity that comes from absolute certainty. My laptop glowed in the darkness as I compiled files, sorted documents, and made lists. At 6 in the morning, I heard Thayer's alarm, his footsteps, the shower running. By the time he emerged in his suit, ready to conquer another day, my side of the walk-in closet was empty. The divorce papers sat on the kitchen table, already signed by me. Next to them, a folder containing copies of the property deed, in my name, purchased before our marriage with my inheritance. Another folder with statements for the joint credit cards I was authorized on, but had never used for personal expenses. And a USB drive containing 3 years of design files, client contracts, and correspondence proving which projects were mine. I was pouring coffee when he walked in. "What is this?" Thayer picked up the papers, his face cycling through confusion, anger, and something that might have been fear. Lesson 1, I said. Read the documents before you sign them. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You have 30 days to vacate. The prenup you insisted on protects your assets, and mine. Vesper, this is insane. Over a joke. Over a pattern, I corrected. The joke was just the loudest part. He slammed the papers down. You're being dramatic, emotional. This is why I can't talk to you anymore. You don't have to, I said. Talk to your lawyer instead. I left for my studio downtown, the warehouse space I'd kept even after Thayer suggested I work from home. The morning light filtered through the industrial windows, catching dust motes like snow. My team would arrive at 9. I had 2 hours to prepare. Sable called at 7:30. Are you okay? I'm excellent, I said, and meant it. He's going to fight this. I know. Vesper, what did you do? Nothing illegal, nothing cruel, just what I should have done a year ago. That evening, I returned to the penthouse one final time. I needed my drafting table, a family heirloom that Thayer had relegated to the corner of his office. The door was unlocked. Voices drifted from the bedroom. I should have left. Should have called first. Should have done 100 things differently. Instead, I walked quietly down the hall and saw them through the half-open door. Thayer and Lumen, tangled in sheets I'd chosen, in a room I'd designed. Her laugh was bright and careless. What if she comes back? Lumen asked. She won't, Thayer said. And if she does, what's she going to do? Divorce me? They both laughed. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds. Long enough to memorize the scene, short enough to leave before they noticed me. In Thayer's home office, I found his laptop open. He'd never learned to lock his screen. The browser showed his email. I didn't read anything personal. But I did notice the folder marked Board Review Private. I'd built my career on understanding systems, on seeing how pieces fit together. This folder contained pieces that didn't fit at all. Vendor contracts with suspicious markups, payments to shell companies, correspondence about alternative accounting methods. I didn't copy everything, just the files that looked like problems. Then I packaged them carefully and sent them to the company's external auditor with a simple note. Found these during asset division. Thought you should have them. When I finally loaded my drafting table into Sable's truck, rain had started to fall. The kind of steady downpour that makes the city look washed clean. You're scaring me a little, Sable said as we drove away. Don't be scared, I said. Quiet burns longer than rage. My phone buzzed. A message from Eamon Pike. Received some interesting hotel footage from a friend. Security cameras don't lie. Call me. I replied. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., coffee shop on 5th. His response came immediately. I'm in. Eamon Pike looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. He probably hadn't. The coffee shop was nearly empty at 10 on a Tuesday morning, just us and a handful of people pretending to work on laptops. I ordered an Americano. He already had something dark and bitter in front of him. Show me, I said. He slid his phone across the table. The video quality was grainy but clear enough. Timestamp, 3 weeks ago. Location, Hotel Meridian, downtown. Thayer and Lumen, entering a suite at 9 p.m., leaving at midnight. Then again, 2 days later. And again. How did you get this? I asked. I asked the right questions to the right people, Eamon said. Been suspecting something for months. Lumen kept having these work dinners that ran late. Your husband kept texting her during our anniversary dinner. He took a harsh swallow of coffee. I'm a builder, Vesper. I notice when things don't line up. What do you want to do with this? That's the question. He ran a hand through his dark hair. I could confront them, make a scene, but that's what they'd expect from me. The rough contractor who can't control his temper. I studied him. Eamon was built like someone who'd spent years in actual labor, not a gym. Practical clothes, work boots even now. but his eyes were calculating. "You want something strategic," I said. "I want them to feel what I felt," he replied, when I realized my wife was laughing about me behind my back. "Then we work together," I said. "No violence, no illegal activities, just consequences." "I'm listening." I pulled out my tablet and opened a timeline. Thayer is hosting a charity gala this Friday. Children's Hospital fundraiser. He's the honorary chairman this year, lots of publicity. Lumen mentioned it. She's going as his date. Exactly. They're going to play the perfect couple in front of 500 people and the local press. And we're going to let them? We're going to attend, I said. Separately. Observe. And wait for them to make a mistake. Eamon's smile was grim. They always do. Friday arrived with unseasonable warmth. The hotel ballroom glittered with crystal and ambition. I wore navy silk, simple and elegant. Sable accompanied me, stunning in emerald, her natural grace making her look like she belonged anywhere. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered as we entered. "Probably," I agreed. Thayer stood near the entrance, greeting guests with the practiced charm that had built his company. He saw me and froze for just a moment. Then his expression smoothed into professional courtesy. "Vesper, I didn't realize you'd be attending." "I bought the tickets months ago," I said truthfully, before things changed. Lumen appeared at his elbow, wearing white, a bold choice that made her look angelic under the chandeliers. "Oh. Hi, Vesper." "Hello, Lumen." The moment stretched. Other guests were watching now, sensing drama. "Well," Thayer said loudly, "wonderful to see everyone supporting this important cause. Please enjoy the evening." Sable and I moved into the crowd. I felt eyes following us but kept my expression serene. "Champagne Tower at 3:00, Sable murmured. "Looks unstable." The tower of glasses rose in a precarious pyramid near the auction tables. Servers were still adding bottles to the ice buckets at its base. "How unstable?" I asked. "One good bump would do it." 30 minutes later, Lumen made her way toward the ladies' room, passing close to the champagne tower. Her heel caught on the carpet edge. Someone had rolled it over slightly, maybe accidentally, and she stumbled sideways. Her hand shot out for balance, caught the tower's support cloth. The cascade was almost beautiful. Glass and champagne and ice tumbling in a glittering arc. Lumen shrieked as cold liquid soaked her white dress. Glasses shattered across the marble floor. Servers rushed forward, and Thayer, instead of checking if she was hurt, snapped at the nearest staff member. "What kind of amateur setup is this? Who approved this placement?" Phones came out. Of course they did. This was a charity event full of society people who lived on social media. I watched from across the room, my face showing only mild concern. Sable had her phone out too, but she wasn't filming Lumen. She was filming Thayer's reaction. His red face, his pointed finger, his complete lack of compassion for his date. By midnight, the video was circulating online. Not the fall itself, that was sympathetic, but Thayer's response. The comments ranged from critical to cruel. "Someone needs an anger management course. This is who runs a company. Yikes. Imagine how he treats employees behind closed doors." I didn't post anything, didn't comment, didn't even share. I didn't need to. Monday morning, I started the real work. My studio had a small conference room where I spread out 3 years of contracts. Every project where my designs had been used under Thayer's company name. Every client who had paid his firm for work I'd created. My business attorney, a sharp woman named Carissa Chen, reviewed the documents with the focus of a surgeon. "You have excellent records," she said. "Timestamps, email chains, preliminary sketches with your signature. I've always been organized. It's going to save you. Legally, you can claim ownership of these designs and seek compensation for unauthorized use. What about the staging materials, the furniture and props I bought for shoots? Also yours. If you can prove purchase and ownership, you can reclaim them." They're in a storage unit Thayer pays for. Under whose name? Mine. He just handles the billing. Carissa smiled. Then get them out of there before he realizes what you're doing. Wednesday afternoon, I arrived at the storage facility with Sable and a moving truck. The unit was packed with 3 years of accumulated staging items, mid-century furniture, decorative pieces, custom-built installations, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of materials. We were loading the last boxes when Quinlan Doss appeared at the end of the hallway. His silhouette filled the narrow strip of light from the exit sign, all swagger and smirk, like he'd been waiting for the perfect moment to make an entrance. Well, he drawled, walking toward us with that same self-satisfied gait I remembered from every company party. Still decorating losers, Vesp? Guess some habits die hard. The words hit the air like something sticky and sour. I straightened, my hands tightening around the cardboard box I held, its marker label bold and deliberate. Allen Designs, property of Vesper Allen. The weight of it grounded me. I met his gaze head-on. I'm reclaiming my property, Quinlan, I said evenly. Not that it's any of your concern. He snorted, stopping a few feet away, his cologne cutting through the scent of dust and motor oil. Thayer's going to love this, he said, lips curling. You stealing from him right under everyone's nose. It's not stealing, I said, placing the box in the back of the truck. When it belongs to me. He laughed then, a sharp, grating sound that echoed against the concrete walls. Good luck proving that. Already done, I replied, brushing my hands off. My voice was calm, but underneath it, adrenaline burned like static. His expression shifted, just a flicker, but I saw it, the quick calculation behind his eyes. Then his mouth twisted again. You always were uptight, he said softly, cruelly. No wonder he needed Lumen. The name hit me like a spark to dry tinder. I didn't answer. I simply set the next box down carefully, methodically, then turned and began walking back toward him. Sable called my name, warning in her tone, but the sound barely registered. Quinlan's grin faltered when I stopped in front of him. He was taller, broader, but that didn't matter. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. The sound echoed, sharp and clean. That's assault, he sputtered, eyes wide. Yes, I said calmly, and what you just said is harassment, so I'd say we're even. I walked past him without another glance, heading straight to his car, a ridiculous, overcompensating sports model wrapped in some custom vinyl design that looked like a comic book explosion. I dragged my key slowly, deliberately, across the driver's side door. One long, perfect line, deep enough to gleam silver. When I finished, I stepped back and admired it. Now it's decorated, I said over my shoulder. Quinlan's temper finally snapped. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. I didn't fight him. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there as his grip tightened, the tendons in his hand straining, his face twisted with anger. Sable, ever quick, already had her phone out, recording, steady, silent. Let go, I said quietly. You crazy? He started, but stopped when the storage facility manager rounded the corner. The man's face was pale with alarm, his radio already in hand. Sir, the manager said, voice steady, release her immediately, or I'm calling the authorities. Quinlan froze. Then, with visible effort, he let go. The skin on my arm throbbed where his fingers had been. His expression turned from rage to something smaller, uglier. He backed away, trembling with fury. You're going to regret this, he hissed, voice low, almost shaking. Doubtful, I said, and turned back to the truck. By the end of the day, the facility banned him for aggressive behavior. Sable's video, edited to highlight only his actions, the grab, the shout, the manager's intervention, circulated quietly but effectively. Someone sent it to his gym, that exclusive little temple where he spent his mornings flexing for anyone who'd watch. By evening, he was suspended pending review. A minor consequence, but satisfying nonetheless. Small victories, but victories all the same. Thursday evening, as I was reorganizing the returned boxes, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. The preview image froze me. Thayer and Quinlan, under the dim security lights of the loading dock, lifting my labeled crates into a different truck. The timestamp in the corner read 11:04 p.m., the night before the confrontation. Below the image, a single line of text. Thought you should know. Orin Vale, Thayer's IT director, always quiet, always observing from the edges of meetings. I'd spoken to him maybe twice, both times about software licenses. Polite, unreadable, apparently not as loyal as Thayer assumed. I typed back quickly, return them by 6 p.m. tomorrow, or this photo goes to my attorney and becomes public record. An hour passed before the reply came. Not from Orin, but from Thayer's own number. We need to talk, face to face. No, I wrote back. Return my property by 6 or face consequences. Your choice. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, and never returned. The next day, at 5:30 sharp, a truck pulled into the alley behind my studio. 2 employees I recognized from Thayer's company climbed out, avoiding my eyes. They moved efficiently, unloading every crate, every box marked with my name, stacking them neatly inside. One of them handed me a clipboard with a formal receipt acknowledging delivery. I signed without a word. When the last box was inside and the truck drove off, I finally let myself breathe. Then I picked up my phone and called Carissa. They returned everything, I said. Good, she replied. I could hear papers rustling on her end. Now we file the civil notice for unauthorized commercial use of your copyrighted work. Will it stick? I asked. With your documentation, she said, her tone almost smug. Absolutely. And here's the beautiful part. It's not criminal. It's just business. Public record. No police. No spectacle. Just a legal claim anyone can look up. I leaned against one of the crates, exhaustion and triumph warring inside me. When can we file? I'll have it ready by Monday, she said. For the first time in months, I smiled. I hung up and looked around my studio. Every surface was covered with my work, my vision, my talent. The things Thayer had convinced me to share, then claimed as his own. Not anymore. Sable appeared in the doorway with takeout. You need to eat. I need to finish this. You need to do both. She set the bags down. Vesper, what's the end game here? Justice, I said. That's vague. Then how about this? I want my name back, my work acknowledged, and I want everyone who helped him take it to face what they've done. That's not vague, Sable said quietly. That's war. Then consider me enlisted. My phone buzzed. A text from Eamon. Lumen came home in tears tonight, kept talking about how everything is falling apart. Thayer blamed her for the champagne incident. I replied, they're turning on each other. Good. What's next? Eamon asked. Next we wait. Pressure makes people crack. The civil notice hit the public record on Monday at 9 a.m. By 9:30, my phone was ringing. Carissa sounded energized. 3 journalists have already requested comment. 2 industry blogs picked it up. The claim is specific enough to be newsworthy. Unauthorized commercial use of copyrighted architectural designs, valued at approximately $2.3 million. That's the conservative estimate, I said. I know, but conservative plays better. This isn't about revenge, remember. It's about fair compensation for your work. Of course, I said, meaning it. Thayer called at 10. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 10:15, 10:30, 11. Each message grew progressively more aggressive. This is absurd. Those were company projects. Call me back. We can work this out. You're making a huge mistake. Fine. You want to play hardball? Let's play. I didn't return any of them. Instead, I spent the morning calling clients. The ones who had hired Thayer's firm but worked primarily with me. The ones who might remember that every concept sketch, every mood board, every final rendering had come from my hand. Most were sympathetic, some were cautious, but 3 agreed to provide statements confirming my role in their projects. Tuesday morning, I drove to Thayer's office building. The movers met me in the lobby at 8 a.m., before most employees arrived. We rode the elevator to the 14th floor in silence. The receptionist gaped when she saw us. "Ma'am, you can't—" I handed her a document. "This is a court order allowing me to reclaim my property from these premises. Everything labelled with my name and business logo is mine to remove. I need to call Mr. Locke. Feel free, we'll be in his office." Thayer's corner office overlooked the city, all glass and steel and masculine authority. My staging pieces were scattered throughout, the vintage credenza I'd restored, the custom shelving unit, the art I'd selected and framed. Small labels marked each piece. Property of Vesper Allen Designs. I'd done that last week, during one of Thayer's business trips, a 5-minute visit with my old key card that hadn't been deactivated yet. Quinlan arrived as we were loading the first cart. "You can't do this." "Watch me." He stepped in front of the cart. I kept pushing. He had to jump back or get rolled over. "That's assault," he said. "That's momentum," I corrected. "Move or be moved." Someone was filming from the hallway. "Good, let them." The cart rolled past Quinlan's expensive shoes. He scrambled aside, nearly losing his balance. The video would be perfect. Him backing down, me calm and purposeful, reclaiming what was mine. By noon, the office was stripped of everything I'd contributed. The space looked hollow, unfinished, exactly how it should have looked all along. Thayer finally appeared as we were loading the last pieces. His suit was rumpled, his expression volcanic. "You're going to regret this, Vesper." "People keep telling me that," I said. "Still waiting." "I built this company from nothing." "You built it from my work," I corrected. "There's a difference." He stepped closer, voice dropping. "You think you're so smart, so righteous, but you're just bitter that I moved on." "I'm not bitter," I said. "I'm collecting what I'm owed." The movers loaded the last cart. I signed the final paperwork and left without looking back. By Wednesday, 3 of Thayer's smaller sponsors had quietly suspended their partnerships, citing unresolved internal disputes and concern over company ethics. The statements were carefully worded, legal-approved, and devastating. Thursday, the industry blog Arch Daily ran a piece. "When design credit becomes design theft, the Vesper Allen case." Friday, Lumen called me. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, her voice thick with tears. "Vesper, please, can we talk? This is all so messed up. I never meant for things to get this crazy. Thayer is furious all the time now. He blames me for everything. Says I ruined his reputation. But I thought he loved me. I thought we'd be together. He promised me your life, Vesper. He promised me everything you had." I saved the message, sent a copy to my lawyer and another to Eamon. Then I replied via text. "You can keep what's left." Eamon called an hour later. That message, she actually said that. She did. Christ, I've been legally separating our finances this week. My attorney says the evidence of infidelity strengthens my position. Good. Vesper, what are you going to do now? I'm going to show everyone what they really are, I said. Saturday night, Sable closed her bar early for a private meeting. The space was industrial chic, exposed brick and Edison bulbs, the kind of place that looked casual but cost serious money to create. Eamon arrived at 8. Oren Vale appeared at 8:15, quiet as always, carrying a laptop. You came, I said. Oren shrugged. I've watched Thayer take credit for other people's work for 5 years. Seemed like it was time to stop watching. What do you have for us? He opened the laptop. Chat logs, internal company communications, mostly between Lumen and Quinlan. Lumen and Quinlan? I leaned forward. Not Lumen and Thayer. Oh, those exist too, but these are more interesting. Oren pulled up a conversation dated 6 months ago. Lumen. Did you file the trademark for the new design method? Quinlan. Under our LLC, yes. Thayer doesn't know anything about it. Lumen. Good. V's system is too valuable to share with him. Quinlan. When we launch, she'll never be able to prove it was hers first. I stared at the screen. They stole my methodology. For their own startup, Oren confirmed. They've been building it for months, using Thayer's resources to develop your designs, then planning to spin off independently. Thayer doesn't know, Eamon said flatly. Thayer is their cover, Oren replied, and their scapegoat. When the civil case gets messy, they were planning to blame everything on him. Sable poured whiskey for everyone. This is corporate espionage. It's worse than that, I said. They were going to leave him holding the bag while they profited from my work. What do you want to do with this information? Oren asked. I looked at each of them. Sable, loyal since college. Eamon, betrayed and calculating. Oren, tired of enabling corruption. I want to make it public, I said. Not legally, not yet, but socially. I want everyone to see what they've been doing. How? Sable asked. There's a neighborhood block party next Saturday, I said. Summer celebration, outdoor thing. Lots of people from the business community attend. Very casual, very social. You want to crash it? Eamon said. I want to educate it, I corrected. With evidence, with facts, with their own words. Oren smiled, rare and genuine. I can help with that. The week passed in careful preparation. Oren compiled the most damaging chat logs, stripping out anything that could be considered private or illegally obtained. Everything he showed me came from company servers he had legitimate access to as IT director. Sable arranged for audio-visual equipment through her bar's entertainment contacts. Nothing fancy, just a standard projector and speakers, the kind used for outdoor movie nights. Eamon tracked Thayer's schedule. Confirmed he'd be at the block party. Lumen, too. Thursday evening, I met with Lumen at Sable's bar. She arrived looking fragile, makeup streaked. Thank you for seeing me, she said. I wanted to hear what you have to say, I said, which was technically true. She cried, apologized, explained how Thayer had pursued her, made her feel special, promised her everything. I didn't mean to hurt you, she sobbed. He said you didn't care anymore, that the marriage was over anyway. When did this start? I asked gently. Last year, maybe 14 months ago. He was so attentive, so different from Eamon. And Quinlan? She froze. What about Quinlan? Your business partners. Her face went pale. How did you... Lumen, I know about the startup. I know about the stolen methodology. I know everything. She crumpled. It was Quinlan's idea. He said we could make millions, that your designs were wasted on Thayer's company, that we deserved to benefit from them. Because you helped steal them. I didn't steal. You forwarded company files, client lists, proprietary information. She was fully panicking now. Vesper, please. If this comes out, I'll lose everything. You already have, I said quietly. Eamon knows. He's filing for divorce. No, he can't. But I can offer you something, I continued. Immunity. If you give a sworn statement about Quinlan's involvement in the startup, if you expose what was done, Thayer will destroy me. Thayer is going to have bigger problems. She looked at me with desperate eyes. Then, slowly, she nodded. Sable appeared with paperwork, a simple statement, drafted by Carissa, outlining Quinlan's plan and Lumen's participation. Lumen signed it with shaking hands. What happens now? She whispered. Now you go home, I said, and you stay quiet. Saturday arrived hot and clear. The block party filled the street with families, food trucks, and the kind of casual mingling that made people forget to guard themselves. I arrived at 8 p.m. with Sable and Oren. Eamon was already there, talking to neighbors near the beer garden. The projection screen was set up on someone's garage wall, ostensibly for showing a movie later. Nobody questioned it. This was a family-friendly event. At 8:30, Thayer and Quinlan arrived together, laughing about something. They got drinks, shook hands, played the role of successful businessmen enjoying community. At 9, when the sky was finally dark enough, I sent Sable the signal. The projector hummed to life. The first slide was simple, a timestamp, a screenshot of a chat between Quinlan and Lumen. Redacted for legal protection, but clear enough. The second slide, another conversation, discussing trademark filing. The third, my design sketches, dated and signed, next to their trademark application. No narration, no music, just evidence, sliding past in methodical precision. People started noticing. Phones came out. Someone asked, "What is this?" Then the audio started. Lumen's voice from her voicemail. "He promised me your life." More chatter, more phones. Thayer was pushing through the crowd now, looking for the source. The presentation continued. A slide showing my civil claim. Another showing sponsor withdrawals. Then Lumen's signed statement, redacted but damning. Quinlan spotted the projector. He ran toward it, face contorted with rage. He grabbed at the equipment. Sparks flew as he yanked cords. The projector flickered, but the image was already burned into dozens of phone recordings. People scattered. Someone shouted. The projection screen caught fire. Just a small flame from the electrical short, quickly extinguished. But the damage was done. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Quinlan try to explain himself to confused neighbors, watching Thayer's face cycle through realization and fury. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Impressive, but this isn't over." I replied to the same number I'd contacted earlier. "No, it's not. Meet me tomorrow at the company showroom. 8 p.m., come alone." Then I sent the address to Sable, Eamon, and Oren. "No police," I added. "Just witnesses." The showroom stood empty on the edge of the industrial district, one of Thayer's newer acquisitions meant to display his company's design capabilities to potential clients. He'd bought it 8 months ago with money that should have been my commission. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sunday evening arrived with heavy clouds and the promise of rain. The city seemed to hold its breath, lights muted behind the thick grey curtain pressing down from above. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the distance, the soles of my boots clicking against the wet pavement. The air was heavy with the smell of ozone and asphalt, that quiet electric tension before a storm. I reached the building at 7:30 sharp, early, as always. The security lights buzzed faintly, illuminating the tall glass facade that reflected the shifting clouds. Inside, the space waited, empty, echoing, still arranged like a showroom despite everything that had happened. I paused at the entrance and let the memories wash through. The layout had been my design, my first major project for the firm, back when collaboration still meant something. I'd suggested the track lighting that now poured thin ribbons of white over each display room, over furniture, arranged to suggest warmth and intimacy. I'd chosen the concrete flooring for its acoustics, the satisfying echo that followed every step, like a heartbeat inside the bones of the building. Now it all felt staged, hollow, a ghost version of my work. My phone sat propped on a tripod in the corner, the tiny red light blinking steadily. Always recording, just in case. I'd learned long ago that evidence mattered more than truth. At 7:45, the back door clicked open. Sable slipped in, the damp air following her like a cloak. She pulled down her hood, her dark hair clinging slightly from the mist outside. Her eyes swept the room once, sharp and assessing. "This is a terrible plan," she said, her voice a low murmur that carried easily in the open space. "You've mentioned that before." "Worth repeating." She took out her phone, checking the charge level. Her fingers moved fast, efficient, a habit from too many late-night crisis shoots. Eamon and Oren are outside. Oren's in the van, watching the feed. Eamon's by the alley. If things go wrong, they won't. You don't know that. I know that Thayer is predictable, I said, setting another tripod angle. He'll come because his ego won't let him ignore the challenge. He'll bring Quinlan because he doesn't trust himself to stay calm. And they'll both make mistakes, because they always do. Sable frowned. What about Lumen? I paused. Lumen made her choice when she signed that statement. I said quietly. She picked a side. The silence between us thickened. Outside, thunder rolled, low and distant. At exactly 8 o'clock, the front door opened. The sound echoed through the concrete chamber like a gunshot. Thayer stepped in first, tall, composed, trying to project control he didn't have. His suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled to the elbow. He looked like a man who wanted to seem casual, but couldn't quite forget the boardroom. Behind him came Quinlan, his face still bearing the faint red scratch from the storage facility. A reminder. Vesper. Thayer's voice filled the room, calm and cool. Let's talk like adults. I'm listening. He walked closer, his polished shoes striking the floor with slow, deliberate rhythm. This has gone too far, he said. The civil case, the public drama, last night's stunt, it needs to stop before it destroys everything. I agree, I said evenly. Return my rights to my designs, pay fair compensation, issue a public acknowledgement, then it stops. Thayer's expression didn't change, but his jaw tensed. You know I can't do that. The company would lose credibility. The company is already losing credibility, I countered. 3 sponsors gone, 2 more reconsidering. The Arch Daily article has over 40,000 views. Your bleeding reputation by the hour. Quinlan stepped forward, his voice full of venom. You think you're clever, don't you? But you're just a bitter woman who can't handle being replaced. I laughed. The sound startled even me. Replaced? By whom? Your secret startup? They both froze. A flicker of panic crossed Quinlan's eyes. Yes, I continued, my tone steady, deliberate. I know about it. The LLC registration, the pending trademarks, the design methodology you lifted from my own files. You were never subtle. You can't prove that, Quinlan snapped, but his confidence was crumbling fast. Lumen already did, I said, pulling out my phone and opening the document. The signature glowed under the light. She was very thorough once she realized you were planning to abandon her too. Thayer's face went pale. Lumen signed something. A detailed confession, I said. Names, dates, wire transfers, every financial arrangement laid out clean. She's protecting herself before this becomes a bigger legal matter. He exhaled sharply, his composure fracturing. That conniving... Careful, I cut in, my tone even but sharp. People record everything these days. Quinlan advanced, trying to corner me near a stack of sample furniture. His breath came hard. Give me that phone. I lifted it higher. Or what? You'll assault me again, in front of witnesses. There are no witnesses here, he spat. Wrong. Sable stepped out from behind a divider, her phone raised and recording. Eamon appeared in the back doorway, arms folded, blocking the exit. And then Orin entered from the front, calm as a ghost, a laptop tucked under his arm. Quinlan turned, realization dawning. This is entrapment. This, I said quietly, is accountability. You wanted a confrontation. Here it is. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Thayer's phone buzzed once, then again. He looked down, and the last of his arrogance drained from his face. What is it? Quinlan demanded. Thayer's voice was barely audible. The board, emergency meeting tomorrow morning. They've received a full audit report. Quinlan's colour drained. From whom? Thayer swallowed hard. Anonymous source, but it includes everything. The shell companies, the markup schemes, the misappropriated funds. The rain finally began outside, steady and cold, tapping against the glass walls. Inside, the silence was complete, just the quiet sound of empire collapsing. I smiled. Not anonymous. I sent those files weeks ago. The auditors just took their time being thorough. You had no right. I had every right. I found them during legitimate asset division. The auditors did the rest. Oren opened his laptop. Want to see what else I found? Email chains between you two planning to blame Thayer for the startup theft. Messages about making him the fall guy while you both walked away clean. Thayer turned to Quinlan with dawning realization. You were setting me up. That's not. All this time I defended you, promoted you, and you were planning to destroy me. Thayer, listen. But Thayer wasn't listening anymore. He was reading the emails Oren displayed, watching his entire world reconfigure itself. My phone buzzed. A message from Carissa. Settlement offer accepted. Full payment authorized. Wire transfer complete. Check your account. I pulled up my banking app. The number made my breath catch. Not just compensation for the designs. Thayer had paid 3 times the requested amount, probably hoping to make this disappear before the board meeting. Too late, I said aloud. What? Thayer looked up from Oren's laptop. Your payment, it's appreciated, but it doesn't stop what's already in motion. Vesper, please. We can fix this. I'll issue a public statement, acknowledge your contributions, whatever you want. I want my name restored on every project I created. I want the industry to know the truth, and I want both of you to face the consequences of what you've done. Quinlan's face twisted. You self-righteous. He lunged toward me. I'd been expecting it. Quinlan always became physical when cornered. I sidestepped and grabbed a rolling cart loaded with decorative boxes, shoving it directly into his path. The cart hit his shins. He yelped and tumbled forward, catching himself on a display table. Sable captured every second. Assault on camera, she said pleasantly. Again, you really should learn. I pulled out a document packet I'd prepared, printed on premium paper, bound professionally. Inside, copies of every contract, every proof of authorship, every email chain. Lumen's statement, the sponsor withdrawal letters, Oren's evidence of the startup scheme, and at the back, a settlement agreement already signed by me. This is what happens next, I said, setting the packet on the floor between us. You sign this agreement acknowledging my intellectual property rights and my sole authorship of the disputed designs. You issue a public correction. You cooperate with the board investigation. And if we don't, Thayer's voice was hollow, then everything in this packet becomes part of the public record. The startup theft becomes a criminal investigation. And your company doesn't just lose sponsors, it loses everything. Quinlan struggled to his feet, face flushed. You can't. I already have. Thayer's phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen and his shoulders sagged. Investors are pulling out. 3 just sent termination notices. 4, I corrected. The 4th one called me personally. Said they'd been suspicious of your accounting for months. How did you... I made connections in this industry too, Thayer. People you thought were just my husband's colleagues. Turns out they respected my work more than your manipulation. Eamon stepped forward. For what it's worth, I'm filing charges against both of you for the theft of my proprietary construction methods. The ones Lumen forwarded to your little startup. Those blueprints were my intellectual property. And I'm testifying about every corner you cut on company infrastructure, Oren added, including the safety systems in this building. As if on cue, a pipe overhead groaned. The old sprinkler system, the one Thayer had decided to defer maintenance on to save money. Sign the agreement, I said, or spend the next year in litigation while your company dissolves around you. Thayer looked at Quinlan. Quinlan looked at the exits, but Sable was filming from one direction, Eamon blocking another, Oren standing near the third. Fine, Thayer whispered. Where do I sign? I handed him a pen. He signed. His hand shook, but the signature was legally binding. Quinlan, I said, this is coercion. This is consequence. Sign, or I release everything to the press tonight. Your choice. He grabbed the pen and scrawled his name. I collected the documents, checking each signature. Perfect. Carissa would be pleased. One more thing, I said. Thayer looked up with sad eyes. What else could you possibly want? An apology, a real one, for the birthday party, for the t-shirt, for every time you made me feel small while stealing my work. Vesper, say it, or the settlement is void. The silence stretched. Outside, thunder rumbled. The pipes overhead groaned again, louder this time. I'm sorry, Thayer finally said, for all of it. Not to me, I said, to yourself, because you had something real and you destroyed it for something cheap. I turned to leave. Sable, Eamon, and Oren followed. Behind us, Quinlan's voice rose. That's it? We just let her walk away? She already walked away, Thayer said. We just didn't notice until it was too late. We were almost to the door when the pipes gave way. The sound started as a groan, metal against metal, old infrastructure finally surrendering. Then came the hiss, water under pressure, finding an outlet. The first sprinkler head burst above the main display area, sending a spray of water across the carefully staged furniture. Then another, and another, like dominoes falling. Out! Eamon shouted. Everyone out! But I stood frozen, watching the cascade. The water hit the decorative elements Thayer had recently purchased, the cheap replacements for my staging pieces. The glitter paint they'd used for the promotional shoot began to run, turning the water into a shimmering, toxic river. Quinlan slipped on the wet floor, arms windmilling. He caught himself on a display shelf, which promptly collapsed under his weight. More water, more glitter. The overhead lights flickered as moisture hit the electrical conduits. Vesper, come on! Sable grabbed my arm. I let her pull me toward the exit, but I couldn't stop watching. The showroom that Thayer had built with my unpaid commissions was drowning in his own neglect. Lumen appeared in the doorway, soaked from the rain outside. Thayer, oh God, what's happening? The sprinklers, he shouted over the growing roar. The system failed. You mean the system you refused to maintain? Oren called back. The one I flagged as critical in 3 separate reports. Sparks erupted from a junction box. The lights died, replaced by the eerie glow of emergency exit signs. Water continued to pour, now ankle-deep and rising. Eamon grabbed Quinlan's arm and hauled him toward the door. Move or drown, your choice. We stumbled into the rain, real rain now, coming down in sheets. The storm had arrived while we'd been inside, turning the streets into rivers. Lumen ran to Thayer, mascara streaming down her face in black rivers. This is her fault, she sobbed. Vesper did this. She destroyed everything. I didn't destroy anything, I said calmly. I just stopped fixing what he broke. Thayer stood in the rain, staring at his ruined showroom. Water poured from the doorway, carrying glitter and paint and debris into the street. The alarm system wailed, finally triggered by the electrical shorts. You planned this, he said. I planned nothing. You deferred maintenance. You cut corners. You ignored warnings. This is just gravity catching up. Fire trucks appeared at the end of the block, lights cutting through the rain. Someone must have called about the sparks. We should go, Sable said quietly. But I had one more thing to say. I walked up to Thayer, close enough that only he could hear me over the storm. The guest room is still available, I said. Triple the rate, prepaid. His eyes met mine, shocked, broken, finally understanding. You never planned to forgive me, he whispered. You never planned to deserve it, I replied. Then I turned and walked away, Sable at my side. Eamon and Oren followed. Behind us, the firefighters arrived, and the alarm continued its mournful wail. We stood across the street under the overhang of a closed shop, watching the chaos. Thayer tried to speak to the fire chief, gesticulating wildly. Quinlan sat on the curb with his head in his hands. Lumen clung to Thayer's arm, but he kept shaking her off. Did you know the sprinklers would fail? Sable asked. I knew they were old, I said. Oren mentioned they were due for inspection. I did, Oren confirmed. 3 months overdue, actually. I sent Thayer multiple emails about it. So you did plan it, Sable said. I planned to have a confrontation in a building with documented safety issues. What happened after that was entirely his responsibility. My phone buzzed. A message from Carissa. Settlement is official. Your name is being restored to all projects. Press release goes out tomorrow morning. I showed the screen to Sable. She smiled, fierce and proud. You did it. We did it, I corrected. Eamon's phone rang. He answered, listened, then hung up with a grim smile. That was my attorney. Lumen just tried to call him, begging for advice. He reminded her that he represents me, not her, and she should probably retain her own counsel. Is she in legal trouble? Oren asked. For the forwarded blueprints? Probably. For the startup scheme? Definitely, especially now that she's signed a statement confirming everything. Thunder cracked overhead. The rain intensified, turning the street into a shallow river that reflected the emergency lights in rippling patterns. The fire chief emerged from the showroom, shaking his head. He spoke to Thayer, who visibly sagged with each word. I should feel bad, I said. Shouldn't I? Watching him lose everything? Do you? Sable asked. I considered it, searched my feelings for guilt, for sympathy, for any echo of the love I'd once felt. No, I said finally. I feel free. A news van appeared, drawn by the emergency lights and the spectacle. A reporter jumped out, camera crew following. Time to go, Eamon said. We left before they could spot us, walking through the rain to Sable's car parked 2 blocks away. By the time we were dry and heading to her apartment, my phone was lighting up with notifications. The video from the block party had gone viral. Not just locally, it was trending in industry circles. Architects, designers, business ethics forums. Everyone was sharing, commenting, dissecting what it meant. By midnight, the first major publication had picked up the story. Architecture Digest ran a piece. The hidden cost of design theft, how one woman fought back. By 2 a.m., 3 more sponsors had pulled out of Thayer's company. The board meeting scheduled for Monday was moved up to Sunday morning. Technically, later that same day. I fell asleep on Sable's couch with my phone still buzzing, exhausted but vindicated. Monday morning arrived with unexpected sunshine. I woke to 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and an email from Carissa with the subject line, "You need to see this." The press release had gone out at 8 a.m. Simple, factual, devastating. Locke Design Associates acknowledges the sole authorship and intellectual property rights of Vesper Allen for all designs previously attributed to the firm between 2022 and 2025. Ms. Allen's contributions were essential to the company's success, and we regret any misattribution. All future references will properly credit her work. Attached were detailed lists of projects, dates, and descriptions. My name, finally, where it belonged. But that wasn't the biggest news. Carissa's email contained a link to the business section of the major newspaper. Locke Design Associates Board votes to remove CEO following audit investigation. The article detailed everything. The shell companies, the financial irregularities, the unauthorized side projects. Thayer's removal was effective immediately. My phone rang. Carissa, have you seen it? She asked. Just reading it now. The board moved faster than I expected. The audit findings were apparently even worse than the files you provided. They're talking about potential charges for financial misconduct. And the startup? The trademark office has been notified about the fraudulent applications. Quinlan's LLC is being investigated. Lumen is cooperating with authorities in exchange for reduced charges. So it's over. Legally? Almost. Socially? That's just beginning. She was right. By noon, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests from design magazines, business publications, even a producer from a podcast about corporate ethics. I accepted 3 interviews, carefully chosen platforms where I could control the narrative. I wasn't interested in revenge stories or dramatic retellings. I wanted to talk about intellectual property rights, about the invisible labor that built careers, about the systems that allowed talented people to be exploited. The interviews ran over the next 2 weeks. Each one brought more attention, more validation, more opportunities. Designers I'd never met reached out to share their own stories. Women who'd been credited as assistants while doing the primary work. Architects who'd watched their partners take sole credit. Creative professionals tired of being invisible. A movement started, small at first. Credit the creator became a hashtag. Professional organizations began reviewing their attribution standards. Contracts were rewritten to protect individual contributions. I didn't start it intentionally, but I fanned the flames when I could. Sable's Bar became our unofficial headquarters. We'd meet there in the evenings, me, Eamon, Oren, and a rotating group of people with similar stories, sharing strategies, offering support, building something better from the wreckage of what came before. Eamon's divorce finalized in record time. Lumen didn't contest it. She was too busy with her own legal troubles. He walked away with his business intact and a new clarity about what he wanted. "I'm thinking about going back to school," he told me one evening. "Architecture, maybe. Actually learn the design side properly." "You'd be good at it," I said. "You already think like an architect. You just need the technical training." "Would you recommend any programs?" I pulled up my laptop and we spent an hour reviewing options. It felt good, helping someone build something instead of tearing things down. Oren left Thayer's company, or what was left of it. The new CEO tried to convince him to stay, but he'd had enough of corporate environments. "I'm going freelance," he said, "consulting on IT ethics and security. Apparently there's a market for that now." "Apparently," I agreed, smiling. Quinlan disappeared from public view. Rumor had it he'd moved to another city, trying to rebuild under a new name. But the internet has a long memory. His reputation followed him. Lumen called me once, 3 weeks after everything collapsed. I almost didn't answer. "I'm sorry," she said when I finally picked up. "For everything. I know it doesn't matter now, but I need to say it." "Why doesn't it matter?" "Because sorry doesn't fix anything. Doesn't change what I did." "No," I agreed. "It doesn't." Silence stretched between us. "I was jealous of you," she continued. "Your talent, your confidence, the way you always knew exactly who you were. I thought if I took your place, I'd become you." "That's not how identity works." "I know that now." Her laugh was bitter. "I'm in therapy, trying to figure out who I actually am without defining myself through men or competition or whatever mess I created." "That's good," I said, and meant it. Will we ever be sisters again?" "I don't know, Lumen. Maybe someday, but not now." "I understand." She paused. "For what it's worth, watching you fight back taught me something. About strength. About standing up for yourself. Then I hope you use that lesson better than you used my designs." She hung up. I didn't call back. Thayer sent emails occasionally. Apologies, explanations, justifications. I read the first few, then set up a filter to automatically archive them. His words no longer had power over me. The settlement money arrived in full. I used part of it to expand my studio, hire 2 junior designers, and invest in better equipment. The rest went into a fund for supporting other designers fighting for their rights. 6 months after that rainy night in the showroom, Architecture Digest asked me to write a feature article about intellectual property protection in creative fields. It was published under my name, with my photo, accompanied by images of my designs, properly credited this time. The article won an industry award. I didn't invite Thayer to the ceremony. 1 year later, I stood in my new studio, 3 times larger than the old space, filled with natural light and the energy of creative people doing honest work. My team had grown to 5 designers, all properly compensated, all receiving full credit for their contributions. We'd just landed a major contract, redesigning a historic hotel downtown. My name was on the proposal. My signature was on the contract. My vision would shape the project. Sable visited that afternoon with champagne. To celebrate. It's Tuesday, I said. So, we're celebrating anyway. We sat in my office looking out over the city, the same view I'd seen from Thayer's penthouse, but this time it was mine. Earned. Deserved. Do you ever regret how it went down? Sable asked. The public nature of it all? I considered the question. No. If I'd handled it privately, quietly, he would have learned nothing, and neither would anyone else. You became the cautionary tale. I became the example, I corrected. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. An email from a designer in California, thanking me for inspiring her to claim credit for her work. She'd just secured her first solo contract. I smiled and forwarded it to Oren and Eamon. We had a group chat now, just the 4 of us, the people who'd stood in that showroom and witnessed gravity take its course. Eamon, another one joins the revolution. Oren, we should start keeping count. Me, we're not keeping count, we're just making things right. Sable, spoken like someone who's definitely keeping count. I laughed and set my phone down. Outside, the city moved through its rhythms, people building, creating, striving, some of them doing it honestly, some of them learning to. The T-shirt from Thayer's party hung framed in my office. Divorced and free. My team thought it was ironic art. They were right, because I was divorced. And I was free. Free from trying to make myself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. Free from watching my work attributed to someone else. Free from the guest room, metaphorical and literal. The evening light caught the edges of my drafting table, the heirloom that had started this, that I'd refused to leave behind. My grandmother's table, where she'd designed textiles in the 50s when women's work was rarely credited. She would have understood what I did, why I did it, and she would have been proud. I poured the champagne, raised my glass to Sable, and smiled. Here's to gravity, I said. It catches everyone eventually. To gravity, Sable echoed, and to women who help it along. We drank, and the city glittered below us, full of people who would make their own choices and face their own consequences. I'd made mine, and I'd learned the most important lesson of all. Quiet burns longer than rage, precision cuts deeper than anger, and patience builds more than impulse ever could. Thayer had taught me about power through humiliation. I'd taught him about consequences through precision. In the end, we both got the education we deserved. The sun set over the skyline, painting everything gold and red, colors of fire, colors of transformation. Tomorrow I'd start work on the hotel project. Next month I'd give a keynote speech at a design conference. Next year, who knew? But tonight, I stood in my own space, surrounded by my own success, and I finally understood what freedom meant. Not escape, not revenge, not even justice, just gravity, doing what it always does, pulling everything back to where it belongs. He'd tried to teach me respect through humiliation. I'd taught him something better. I taught him gravity.